So I'm going to get straight into reading from my book, Diary of a Botox Bitch. This book has been about 10 years in the making. It's number one in America in its class of new releases in television. And it's available in Canada, Australia, the usual suspects, and in Ireland. So Kilcock Courthouse, actually I should get my glasses. Well, we'll have to do without them for a minute. So this is Diary of a Botox Bitch, chapter 12, Kilcock in the dock. God, I'm getting panic attacks thinking about this day. Kilcock Courthouse for Dr. Botox, aka Kilcock in the Dock, County Kildare, which is on the border of County Meath, Ireland. People get a bit thick about that. Looking back, I can't believe I even went ahead with Celebrity Big Brother during this time. It wasn't just the stress of preparing for the show, it was everything else going on, including the fallout from the infamous encounter with the policeman and my day out in Kilcock courtroom. The whole saga with the policeman, whom I'd nicknamed Policeman Echo, driving without insurance, failing to produce insurance, undertaking a vehicle in the slow lane, and wait for it, dangerous driving. I couldn't believe it. How could I be accused? It got worse. The key witness against me was none other than his own wife, though she'd used her maiden name in the report and for the court papers. How convenient. It was starting to feel like a personal vendetta, but instead of getting angry, I decided to focus on clearing my name. Showdown came in Kilcock Courthouse, an event I've since dubbed Kilcock in the Dock. Before, I met with my solicitor and barrister, who advised me to stay off the stand at all costs. Can you believe it? They didn't want to put me on the stand. I don't know. Anyway, apparently the judge... Oh, I know why. Because the judge was... He's a little bit out there, to be honest with you. I better not say anything because I'll get in contempt of court or something. Apparently the judge assigned to my case had a reputation for being less than forgiving, and my legal team was worried about what I might say if given the chance. Who, me? I wasn't thrilled with the strategy. Why can't I take to the stand? I've nothing to hide, I protested. My barrister patiently explained that the less I said, the better. I grudgingly agreed, turning my focus to the all-important question of what to wear. I settled on a polished outfit, Chanel shoes, a Jackie O-style jacket and trousers. I actually hesitated about wearing my Chanel earrings, fearing they might give the wrong impression to the judge, but they were my only pair, so on they went. I always wear Chanel earrings, it's the only ones I have. Now, the morning of the hearing, I arrived at Kilcock, determined to keep a low profile. That plan was immediately dashed. Inside, the courtroom was overcrowded and chaotic, with barely enough chairs for half the people present. Policeman Finding Nemo and his wife were there, smug as ever. My case wasn't called until nearly noon. I remember sitting there and it was like I was listed as case number 59 or something. It was like, really? I mean, sitting there for the morning was punishment enough if you ask me. But anyway, so my case wasn't called until nearly noon. So I spent hours listening to other cases, many of which were heartbreaking. They were actually. There were teenagers with no support, adults clearly trapped in cycles of poverty and crime. It was eye-opening and it was humbling. When my turn finally came, my barrister had managed to get 4 of the 6 charges struck out by showing my licence and insurance documents, which, by the way, I'd had all along. So what a load of crock swallow. You know what I mean? Like, it's so, sketchy. So that left the undertaking and on the inside lane, apparently. Who would even do that? Anyway, that left the undertaking and dangerous driving charges. Policeman Echo Finding Nemo took to the stand first, swearing on the Bible and playing simple country boy card. Ugh. The judge seemed charmed by his act, much to my annoyance. Then it was my turn, as the judge berated me for my supposed lack of cop on. That's what he said to me. The judge was like, "You've a lack of cop." He said to me, "No cop on," is what he said. God, it was awful. I fought the urge to yell that I wasn't telepathic because I didn't know I had to produce any of these things. It was so sketchy. Instead, I kept quiet, barely. My solicitor squeezed my wrist every time I looked like I might speak. The judge fined me €1,000 and gave me a lecture about responsibility. It was humiliating, but at least it was over. Or so I thought. The next day, as I sat on my Jeep near Donnybrook Church, I noticed a squad car pull up beside me. In the passenger seat, none other than Policeman Finding Nemo himself. Panic set in. So this is the day after the whole fiasco in the courthouse, which, by the way, was hilarious because the courthouse was full, and at the time, I think season 1 of The Real Housewives had been on. So there was so many people, and people were shouting, "Your Honour, she's a bleeding national treasure." It was like bedlam. And there was so much support for me. It was looking back, it was funny, but at the time it wasn't. One of the funniest and most surreal moments from that day in court was being told, not to speak or take the stand. And in the courtroom, was packed with fans of Dublin Wives. And when it came to my case, the chaos did break out, and someone yelled out, "Is Lisa back with Gerald?" And before I knew it, people were shouting things like, "Your Honour, she's a national treasure. This is a farce." And opinions were flying left, right, and centre. And the judge looked like he was about to lose it. I didn't want to seem rude to my fans, so naturally I started explaining that while I couldn't say for sure if Lisa and Gerald were back together, that my aunt had in fact spotted them on the fairways in Quinta do Lago playing golf just 2 days ago. Now, I thought I was being helpful, but as soon as I started talking, the entire courtroom fell silent, ghostly quiet. Suddenly, it was just me mid sentence with everyone staring, including the judge, who was absolutely fuming. He turned to my legal team and asked, with all the sarcasm he could muster, whether their client would in fact like to take the stand, since she had clearly so much to say. I remember, at the time, there was all these newspaper articles saying Garda needles Dr. Botox and stuff. I mean, they're pretty good headlines, to be honest with you. And I'd say half the time I contributed to them myself. But that was like, oh my God, I'm just thinking about it, like, not good, no bueno at all. And I remember he gave me like 4 points in my driving license or something like that. To be honest with you, to me it's incredible because there's lots of nice policemen, but like they're not exactly the most on the ball police force. You know what I mean? The judicial system in Ireland is terrible, and like that whole thing was just a fiasco. It was basically police brutality against a D4 princess. Like I see them the next day, and they're acting like they've better things to be doing than going around going after me. You know what I mean? They should be definitely just like, I don't know, trying to catch criminals. But this book, Diary of a Botox Bitch, is, and in the back is all the headlines. Some of the headlines are wild. You know, now Dr. Botox faces prosecution for promoting Botox. How the horrible housewives made me cry every day. It's a bit dramatic. Dr. Botox sues Dr. Botch. I got psychosuction on my legs. That's liposuction done by a psychopath. He went on the run to Brazil then. And then I think he was struck off for sleeping with his patients as well at the same time. Not while they were asleep on the operating theatre. Well, actually, I don't know. I couldn't say for sure. Then there's another one. I only cook for a man if I want to get rid of him. Then Dr. Botox lined up to inject controversy into Big Brother. Give me my own show, says Botox bitch. I mean, hilarious. And people are saying, like, what were you doing for the last 5 or 6 years? Well, I sold my Botox clinic. I did a bit of an Irish goodbye. Went off to Los Angeles. And I had done some stand-up comedy before Big Brother. And then I was back in stand-up comedy. And the greatest gift I've had has been able to develop as a comic privately over the last couple of years. Very well minded by the comedy community here, and left alone kind of to my own devices, and just quietly, like, no one knows who I am, no one knew anything about me. I could just tip along and do my thing. So that's kind of what I've been doing. But now the cat is out of the bag. Diary of a Botox Bitch, my book, is out. The tour is Diary of a Botox Bitch, which is a 1 woman, 1 hour show. Like, I think the Irish, like, Donnybrook Garda Station is my favourite Garda station, and then probably Irish Town is a close second. Irish Town are built differently. My thoughts on this is Donnybrook Garda Station, they just deal with all the Donnybrook folk. Irish Town, they're half one leg in the Donnybrook and the D4, and the other half they're down in Irish Town, which is a bit like, you know, parts of it are pretty rough. So I feel like they're not as crisp as Donnybrook Garda Stations. Donnybrook Garda Station is the closest thing to Beverly Hills Police Department, which are probably the best police force in the world. 42-second response time. And even living in parts of Los Angeles, if you're dealing with the LAPD, your head could be missing and you'd be waiting 2 days. Whereas Beverly Hills Police Department, 42-second response time. Donnybrook Garda Station are kind of like that. They have a bit of customer service about them. But in this case, there wasn't very customer service. And then my third favourite Garda Station would be Rathgar Garda Station, because I grew up around there, and, well, I'd have nothing bad to say about them. Do you know what I mean? Nothing bad to say about them. Now, I do have a lot of bad things to say about this cop here now in this book. So I'm just going to get into it. And in advance, I'd love to offer members of Garda Síochána a discount or something, but there's no discount in the book, unfortunately. I texted one of the lads the other day and I said, listen, there's a book coming out, and they're nice. They're very nice. So this is chapter 12 of Diary of a Botox Bitch. This is literally dropping on